you see like any like downside? Have you had like challenges for when you
Yeah.
try to use the AI? Yes. Yes.
So recently I tried to throw something to AI to help offload some of my manual stuff. So when we go pick parts for our floor, we get 3 or 4 different pick lists. And then this time I threw all of them in the pick list into the AI and said, hey, can you merge these all together so I know what I need to pick in one file instead of me going through each one of them separately with all these parts and everything to make it a little easier. And it sat there and it thought for like 15 minutes and wasn't even finished.
15 minutes?
And
Okay,
15
what?
minutes. And I was like, this is taking forever. So I went and I did it manually and I finished it manually before it even finished thinking on me. So
Wow,
no,
okay.
it just couldn't do it for some reason. I don't know why. It was just me uploading 4 Excel sheets into it and telling it to sort it out, and it just couldn't do it. Talk to it, and it says next time I come by, I should tell it to do X, Y, Z, and it should go faster. But I have no idea. I'll have to see next time if it goes faster or not.
Well,
So
you tell the AI they better for finish it in 3 minutes,
yeah.
but so that's interesting. So can you educate me a little bit when you say the pick list?
hmm
What does that mean in your context?
So we need to go and pick parts that got to go into the boards that I need to give to my supplier to put them in. And so we have common parts across all the different boards, but some boards use 1 or 2 or 3, and then it's also depending on how many we're picking. So it's always good to have a list. So if I go to a bin to pick stuff, I know I need to pick 15 for this one, 50 for this, instead of going through everything and then coming back to that one again and counting a second time and stuff like that. So
So so that's the can I think that's the material, like the raw material that
yeah,
being picked and then goes into get it get
yes. Yeah, we're picking the capacitors and the resistors
okay.
and transistors and diodes and other things like that that have to go on the board as surface mount or as through hole parts.
As what parts?
Through hole parts. So through hole parts are the big parts that go on a board, and then surface mounts are the small little parts that go on the board. And the surface mounts are pick and place machines. They have everything to do that, and the surface mounts are the bigger parts, the more customized parts too, normally on a circuit board.
I see. And so you have to have a well you don't have to, but you have a pick list and then you have these things picked. So and then you have to say which part is for which board.
Yes. Yeah.
You have that mapped and then so then the board can be assembled.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then so now if you do it yourself, because you've been doing this for some time, so you know what to do,
Yeah.
right? And then you give the AI Excel sheets of like what do you give the AI again on this?
It's called the pick list, and it's a pick list of what the part number is, and then how many it needs, and a little bit of description about the part.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give it to it, and you say, "Hey, I just combine these files together and sort by part number and board,"
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't quite do it. So
It the outcome you are expecting it to give you is what?
it'll give me the part number and the board, and then the next part of the same number if it is, and then the board, and it'll be in numerical order. Because all our parts are in
Okay.
numerical order as we go down the shelves, right? Versus me having it all by board, and has each one separately by numerical order.
I wonder, so why would I wonder what the caused the AI stuck for so long.
I'm not sure either.
I wonder if it's because this is a very customized situation that the AI haven't seen it before. I I wonder, like
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like the process itself is just unique to you. Like I would assume that many
yeah,
people in manufacturing need to do. I wonder if it's the just the files are organized or the names conventions that the AI haven't seen it, hasn't been trained on, it just got stuck there and then can't figure it out. I wonder
yeah.
if that's the case.
I'm not
Huh.
sure. I did get
Okay.
it once to do it for me, but it took a long time, and then I went to go do it again, and it still took a long time. So
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. So we now know AI is not going to be able to do everything. um, okay, well, that's super interesting. So I think for this part, I want to get a little bit of your insights on what do you think the future for manufacturers in general, right, would look like when AI comes in. Are there areas that you think will be more impacted than others? So do you have any thoughts on that?
I think AI is going to be more of an assistant in manufacturing than anything else. And I think it's going to more help with the processing and planning of it, but it's not going to be a big thing with changing how things are made too much because a lot of things are made by hand or somebody has to run a machine or whatever. There's only so much somebody needs you need a human in the loop type thing, right? So they, kind of, who can make a decision on is this good or not? I mean, the AIs can help with that, but then you need somebody to help point it out. And a lot of manufacturing machines, they can do so much, but then you still need somebody to load the parts into the machine, for example. And some robots can help with that, but there's only so much. So then the question is programming those robots and stuff like that. So there can be a subtle shift as we go over time, but it's not something that's going to change quickly at all, in my opinion.
Interesting. What I'm hearing is manufacturing is such a hands-on process, right?
Correct.
And a lot of that is us human have the expertise need to go and make these things.
Yes.
So Greg, what I'm hearing is that the process itself, there's a lot of things probably is less efficient, like sourcing parts and then troubleshooting all of that. AI can help and pretty fast today already. But then for actually making these parts, making these machines, or making the products, most of the time we still need human. At least in your case, it's a sophisticated machine. We're not
Yeah, well,
talking
I mean,
about
it's just one of
right?
those things. I could spend hundreds of $1,000s for something to help put in a screw, or I can hire an employee for 3 years for that same price to put in a couple screws. So it's one of those. What is our cost benefit versus how long does it take to to set it up and make all the fixtures and everything else just to put in a couple screws that we need to do something. So
Right. Okay.
so and then
Why
and
do
then that robot can only
yeah,
do that one thing. While I can have the employee also pack the stuff when
right.
they're done and test it, and it's the versatility also as well as a person to help do things. So
Yeah.
unless we could find some way to lower the cost of the machinery and then programming the machinery and making it repeatable, because repeatability is also a problem as well. I'd love to have a robot that can solder things, but unfortunately, the repeatability of it is not good enough yet for the dexterity to hold the wire in place, put the solder in, and then make sure it's right and it has a good connection and everything yet, as far as I can find.
So when you say repeatability of like soldering with a robotic arm, right? I
Yes,
assume.
yes.
What do you mean by repeatability? You mean like it can repeatedly have the good completion rates, or like what does repeatability
Yeah,
mean here?
yeah, that's like basically what it is. Can we do have a successful outcome, you know, 99% of the time
Huh.
doing the job we wanted to do.
So
So
this is actually not the case then. Like that's actually I did not know that. So I thought robotic processes are very robust. Like if it succeed once, I thought it will succeed every time. No, that's
no,
not the
unfortunately,
case.
no, no.
And why is that?
It just because of, the differences and tolerances of the manufacturing, of everything. It's a difference when just slightly what it is. You can try to use vision systems, but sometimes you're trying to get into a tight spot or something to put something down. You're dealing with, when you're dealing with solder, you're dealing with a liquid, right? You're melting it and then trying to reharden
Okay.
it and stuff, right? So you got to make sure it completely goes through. The holes are exactly the same spot for every single time. And the robot might touch it and then it might adjust things a little bit as it goes. So it's a question of I haven't been able to solve that problem yet to be very repeatable.
Interesting. So first of all, like the parts that need soldering could change a little bit. It's not every time exactly the same. Is
Well,
that
it's
correct?
it's a
No.
wire. It's a wire, right? So a wire has got some pliability and everything to it, right? So it moves and it changes, and you can't have the wires all loaded exactly the same every single time. So
I see. Yeah. And then soldering is self-involving liquid and hardens, so
yeah,
that also changes. It's not like every time it's going to come out exactly
yeah,
the
and I
same.
mean you're supposed to put the soldering iron on there. You have to heat everything up, and then you're supposed to load the soldering into the thing, and then it's supposed to pool and get into the wire and into the hole in the board and everything else. Then you got to retract and then go to the next one that's right next to it, And it's just one of those things I haven't been able to get the repeatability good enough yet with the, I don't know if the robot's not holding the soldering iron tight enough, or is the board shifting, or is it just enough? It's one of those problems I haven't been able to solve yet.
It sounds like because the real world is so much more complex. Is that what it is? Like in a
Pretty
human,
much.
we're pretty much okay. And we, as a human, we're just, I mean, that's what we're best at, right? We look at these different. We can process. Our brain is amazing, right? We can process information. We can see a situation we've never seen before, but we can go in there and then do the right thing right away.
Yes.
That's the intelligence we have, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to pat ourselves on our back. But yeah, okay. No, wow, okay. So interesting. So the robots are really not there yet to do a lot of these very
At least
sophisticated.
something like that, yeah. Where and if you could, maybe I could put vision with it, but then when you start adding vision requirements and then trying to understanding where it needs to go, that adds a lot of more complexity to the overall profile of the robot and everything else like that.
Yeah, and then, but this particular problem you're saying, well, if we're adding on now, later on more and more technology on there, it becomes very complex, and then the complexity comes, and then the cost comes, and is that really the right solution?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it all depends on anything. It's the same issue. The question of do you 3D print something or do you do traditional subtractive manufacturing, right? If you're doing a low quantity of something, it might not be worth the time to set up a whole machine and cutting parts and everything else to do a subtractive manufacturing because they're used to doing bulk and everything else. While an additive will make you 2 or 3 parts pretty quickly, but doesn't have all the setup and everything else. Okay, but it's so it's kind of how you have to kind of match it to your needs in some way on what you want to do.
Yeah, okay. I think what I'm hearing is like manufacturing process or the industrial side of things is very, very complex. So there's so many pieces, right, coming in. And when we're thinking about start using AI, it's not as simple as that, just call ChatGPT. And so a lot of this is real world complex situations. And for a manufacturer like yourself, you have to consider not just that it actually gets the job done, you also have to consider the cost, a lot more things that the factor comes in.
Yes, yeah, you got to consider the cost of not just that, but also the machines that you might have to purchase and stuff like that. Compared to the cost of just hiring an employee, and what their cost is going to be. And I mean, there's lots of costs with employees too, and long-term costs. And it's question, and sometimes it's a question of the short-term versus long-term and everything else like that.
The one thing that maybe I'll just make one comment here to help the listeners here is that when we talked about robotics, how that work with AI is when we talked about robotics, there's the mechanism side of things, how the robot arms work. And then there's also the intelligence side of things, how AI helps or algorithms helps the robotic arms to determine, right, how to do certain things. Like when you talked about, hey, maybe I'll put a vision system in, that's where we start to talk about we'll have a AI algorithm there through that vision system, and then to capture that scenario and understanding that scenario so it can then instruct the arm to do the right stuff, right? So that's how that the AI component is tied into the robotic side of things.